Go back for a moment to when you were young. No, a little younger. I'm talking about elementary school. Yes, that time in your life where the only stressful moments was whether mom remembered to pack your juice for lunch. Many of us have beautiful memories of that time. Learning to read, going to school with your parents, making your first friends. Life seemed a lot easier back then. Of course, you might have also experienced some bad or unpleasant moments. Studies say that envy is one of the first emotions that we have to deal with at primary school. I don't know about you, but if I think about envy, the rich kid I shared the class with comes immediately to mind. You know what I'm talking about. Brand new clothes, the best toys, a big house where everybody wanted to go playing after school. It's okay if you were a bit jealous of him. After all, you were just a little kid. Maybe they also showed off a lot. This surely didn't help you go over the thing. But kids are kids, right? They were just lucky. They did nothing but be born in that rich and wealthy family with a silver spoon in their mouths. But let's try to see things from another perspective. Imagine having a time machine and going back in years. You're now in a school 100 years before. You see a little kid. He's dressed in humble clothes, and he has a sad expression on his face. He's looking at a boy showing off his new wooden horse toy. All the other kids are around him. You can see the discomfort on his little face. What you may not know is that this kid is the great-great-grandfather of your rich classmate. He was just like you. That little kid swore to himself that no one in his family would have suffered that sense of inadequacy again. From that day on, he started to build his generational wealth. Generational wealth is the big egg nest that you leave for your children, their children, and all the way down through the generations. You don't have to be a Rothschild or a Rockefeller to build and protect your generational wealth. Any family could and should do that. Stick around to learn more about generational wealth and how trusts can protect it from bad things like taxes, creditors, and most importantly, bad decisions. Okay, so I'd like you to do something for me. Pause this video right now and do me a huge favor by hitting the like button. If you did, you're awesome, and thank you so much for your support. Frank Mars started his candy company in a small kitchen back in 1911. Today, the Mars family is in the top 10 list of the wealthiest families in the world. On the other hand, the Vanderbilts were the richest family in America in 1920. At the height of their success, the Vanderbilts' fortune was even greater than what was held in the U.S. Treasury. Despite that, at the end of the 60s, no one of the 137 members of the Vanderbilts family was even a millionaire. What's the difference between these two families? What did the Vanderbilts do wrong? There's an old saying, becoming wealthy isn't that hard, staying wealthy is. Luckily for you and your family, there's a way to maintain, grow, and protect your wealth. Allow me to introduce you to the Trust Fund, your best friend for generational wealth maintenance. But first, what is a trust fund? A trust fund is a legal document that establishes a legal relationship where someone, called the grantor, puts assets into a trust, while another person, called the trustee, holds and manages the assets. Finally, a third person, called the beneficiary, benefits from the assets in the fund. Imagine you're a self-made millionaire. You've worked hard for what you have. You want to preserve and keep increasing that amount for your children and future generations. You have a lot of assets, houses, cars, money, bonds, stocks, and so on. Everything is going great, but you still have to pay a lot of taxes on them. You're also afraid that if something bad happens to you, your fortune would be in danger. Maybe you'd fall into debt, and those assets could be taken away from you. This means no legacy and wealth left for your children. This is because the assets are personally held by you, and you're responsible for them. To avoid that, you put them in a trust fund. You can put any valuable asset in there, such as money, real estate, bonds, stocks, and even businesses. Think about trust as a dam. You fill the dam with water. The water is the asset. It remains safe and secure inside the dam. You are the grantor because you created the dam and you put the water into it. However, the person that manages the dam is usually a third neutral person. He is the trustee. Downstream, there are the beneficiaries. These people are usually your family, grandchildren, but they can also be charities of your choice. Basically, people downstream want the water, but they can't have access to it. It's the trustee that decides when to open the dam, for whom, and why. Now things get a little more complicated. There are many types of trusts that you can create, but we can divide them into two main categories: revocable trusts and irrevocable trusts. You know that I like to keep things easy. So here's the shiny treasure chest for you. Imagine you put some money in there, some stocks, and a house. Now an open trust is a revocable trust. As the word might suggest, if you put your assets into a revocable trust, you can also take them back anytime you want. In this case, the assets are still legally yours. You are the grantor, but also the trustee of the fund because you manage the assets in it. On the other hand, if you fall into debt and bad things happen, it means that your creditors can sue you and take your assets from the fund. After all, an open treasure chest isn't that safe. Otherwise, if you put your assets into the treasure chest and then you close it, guess what? You can't open it anymore. These assets are no longer yours. There are some exceptions. You still can be the trustee that manages the fund, so basically, you're the one with the key. But if you open it, you can no longer give the assets to yourself. You can give them only to the beneficiaries of the fund. Most of the time, some governments don't allow you to be the key holder. The entity that has the key is the third neutral party, so the trustee is another person or agency that you've hired. What is the best type of fund? Of course, it depends. Irrevocable trusts offer you more tax advantages, but it's like choosing between a car and an airplane. Both are useful depending on the situation. Unlike the common belief, not only big and rich families can open a trust fund. It can be something that anyone can and should do. Of course, opening a trust remains a complex procedure. We highly recommend you to talk with an estate attorney and analyze the pros and cons taxes. This is something that Uncle Sam won't like to hear. Trust funds can be used to minimize estate and income taxes. Your goal with trust funds is to build a legacy and leave as much money as you can to your grandchildren. The moment you put assets in a fund, they're no longer yours, which means that you don't have to pay income taxes on them. And now the cherry on the cake. If you remove these assets from your net worth by putting them in a trust fund, you might also qualify for a lower tax bracket. This means lower taxes for you to pay. Bad decisions. The last thing that you as a self-made millionaire want is seeing your fortune squandered by greedy heirs. Stupid decisions are maybe the biggest threat to your generational wealth. Remember the Vanderbilts we mentioned earlier? A super rich family eventually left with nothing. They were famous for their parties and gambling problems. Their most expensive party cost $250,000, which is approximately worth $6 million today. For a single party, imagine that. This isn't something you'd want to see your money spent on, unless you do. In that case, have fun. That's why you can put restrictions on your fund and decide how the beneficiaries can receive the assets. Maybe your goal as a grantor of the fund is seeing your grandchildren finish college or using that money wisely when they will turn 30. These are all the things that you can establish creating the fund. Your trustee will ensure that some greedy or irresponsible heir won't squander the fortune that you've worked so hard for. Creditors. At this point, you might wonder, what's the difference between a trust and a will? The answer is much more complicated than you think. But to keep things simple, at the time you die, you want your family to have the entire legacy that you left for them. A will is a private document, but the time you pass out, it becomes public. In this way, creditors can check how much you have left. This gives them the power to start fighting for a part of your wealth. If you didn't have a trust, creditors could come after your legacy even before your loved ones see a dime of it. Again, you don't want to see your generational wealth touched by anyone but your family. Otherwise, this could be a real nightmare for them. You might have realized how the preservation of generational wealth is not something just about luck. It's all about the effort of the founder and common sense of the rest of the family. The founders worked really hard, probably for all their entire life, to ensure a bright future for the following generations. A premature loss can lead to internal fights and confusion about where the money should go and who should benefit from them. In the worst scenario, family members turn on each other exactly at the time they should help each other. A trust fund is the best way for you to prevent all of that. Once again, be sure to talk with a competent estate attorney if you're willing to open one. This video wants to be a point to start your research, so be sure to collect all the proper information even before planning a meeting with a professional. Remember, they're paid hourly, so why go through all the explanation process when you can easily find the information for yourself? It's also probable that at the meeting, they'll take out a fancy treasure chest to explain the difference between irrevocable and irrevocable trust. In that case, tell them the guys from Practical Wisdom already explained that for free. We hope this video gave you valuable and simple views about a really complex topic. Well, thanks for your time, and I'll see you all in the next one. Tell them the guys from Practical Wisdom already explained that for free. We hope this video gave you valuable and simple views about a really complex topic. Well, thanks for your time, and I'll see you all in the next one.